In the headlines, gunmen kill cattle merchant in Taraba, abduct his wife, son. 180 Anambra delegates picked to attend APC National Convention. NDLEA intercepts 1.9 million tablets of tramadol at Lagos Airport. And on the foreign scene, NATO agrees to deploy 4 additional battle groups as it scrambles to strengthen defenses amid Russia's offensive. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Now the news in full. Kidnappers on Wednesday killed a popular cattle merchant, Gidado Hassan, and abducted his wife and 2 of his sons in Jalingo, Taraba State. The spokesperson for the Taraba State Police Command, DSP Usman Abdullahi, who confirmed the incident, said the gunmen, numbering about 12, killed the businessman when they attacked his residence located at Malang Audu village. Meanwhile, the victim has been buried at Jikadadari main burial ground on Thursday. The police in Kano have arrested an 18-year-old Abdul Samad Suleiman of Urei Charenchu Quarters, Gwale local government area of Kano State, and his accomplice, 17-year-old Muazzam Lawan of the same address, for killing a 21-year-old housewife, Rukaya Jamilu, in Kano. In a statement issued by the police spokesperson, SP Abdullahi Kiawa, said during investigation, Suleiman confessed that he went to the house of the deceased as his relative and met her on the bed. However, after stealing 3 mobile phones in the house, he realized that the crime will be traced back to him. So he used a wooden made pestle and repeatedly hit the deceased on her head, as well as her 2 children, and left with the mobile phones. He further confessed that he gave one of the mobile phones to his friend and sold the other 2 at the rate of 12,000 naira. Meanwhile, on rushing the victims to the Murtala Muhammad Specialist Hospital, Kano, doctors examined the housewife and confirmed her dead, while the 2 children sustained injury and are receiving treatment. Angry youth at Chukuku community, Abuja, on Thursday barricaded the Kuje Gwagwalada Road during a protest over incessant kidnappings by bandits in the community. The news agency of Nigeria reports that the angry youth barricaded the road with inscriptions on placards and set tires on fire on the busy road, insisting that government should provide adequate security to curb kidnapping being witnessed by the community regularly. According to reports, vehicles have to be diverted through Kuje Airport Road to access Gwagwalada from Kuje. Meanwhile, police at the scene calmed the youth and urged them to sheath their swords as necessary steps had been taken to address the issue. And moving on to politics now, the All Progressives Congress, APC in Anambra, has picked 180 delegates from the 21 local government areas of the state to represent the state at the party's national convention, scheduled for Saturday, March 26th in Abuja. State chairman of the party, Basil Ejidike, said this during the inauguration of the state zonal and local government executive committees, members at the party's headquarters in Oka. He said the party has all it takes to win elections and is committed to the cause, calling on members to reposition the party.
We are going to the convention with about 180 delegates. We are prepared for the battle ahead. Anambra State should be part of the mainstream politics. The federal government has done so much for our people, and we must find a way to reciprocate. And the only way we can reciprocate is to be part of the mainstream.
Meanwhile, embattled governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, says he's not worried over a recent court decision which sacked his administration. The governor stated this on Wednesday while fielding questions from State House reporters after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa in Abuja. Reacting to the development, Umahi said there is no constitutional provision that says a governor can be sued, noting that God allowed the incident to manifest to provide him an opportunity to further consult on his presidential ambition. Recall, a federal high court in Abuja on Monday had struck out the motion filed by Umahi seeking for a stay of execution of the March 8th judgment.
God has plans for everything, and I think that God allowed one court to give judgment that I go nowhere, allowed another court to say because we defected and the votes belong to the party. And I'm very much worried because the highest court has said that votes belong to the candidates. And that's why even though APC won the election in Bayelsa State, but the deputy governor's credentials were defective. And even a day to the swearing in, the Supreme Court ruled disqualifying the candidate of APC that won the election because of his deputy. And so if votes belonged to the party, it would have been that the Supreme Court in their wisdom would have just asked for the man that won the election for party to bring a substitute to do that. So I'm not worried because in the first place, there is no constitutional provision that says that a governor can be sued in the first place. So I'm not suable, but a court judgment is a court judgment. I'm not to interpret it, but the Constitution we swore to uphold, I can speak to the Constitution. And the Constitution says that when once you are elected, you enjoy immunity. And Supreme Court says votes cast in an election belong to the candidates. And that's why you have qualifications of a candidate and not qualifications of a political party.
National Drug Law Enforcement Agency operatives have seized over 1.9 million tablets of tramadol and codeine imported into the country from Pakistan and the United Kingdom through the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos. NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi, in a statement on Wednesday, said about 40 cartons of Cocomadol, a brand of paracetamol with codeine, which is classified as an opioid, were seized from a freight agent, Oraihueme Ehis. Babafemi added that also about 349,800 tablets of the drug, weighing 336 kilograms, as a consolidated cargo with the Sako import shed at the airport, declared as personal effects, was discovered to contain some medicaments. According to the spokesman, other seizures include 17 cartons of 250 milligram tramadol branded as Tamra, weighing 669.70 kilograms, and 5 cartons of 225 milligrams tramadol under the brand name Royal with a gross weight of 217.15 kilograms. Meanwhile, Defense Headquarters says a total of 47,975 insurgents and their families have surrendered to troops of Operation Hatinkai in the northeast from September 2021 to date. The Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Bernard Onyeko, stated this while giving an update on military operations between March 10th and March 24th on Thursday in Abuja. Onyeko said the achievement of the military within the period included killing of 17 insurgents, arrest of 35, recovery of 34 AK-47s, 5 Dane guns, and 9 locally made guns. He said the troops also recovered 270 rustled cows, 3 motorcycles, and 13 bicycles used by the insurgents for movement. According to him, while 7,000 Islamic State for West Africa province and Boko Haram terrorists from different locations surrendered, troops also rescued 27 civilians in the last 2 weeks, amongst other successes. Aragbiji of Iragbiji land, Oba Abdurrahman Ayotunde Olabomi Odundu IV, has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to ensure justice for his son, Saheed Olabomi, allegedly murdered by a policeman. At a press conference in his palace in Iragbiji, the traditional ruler said Olabomi was killed by a policeman and that the family wants justice for the deceased. Hamid Oyebode's report is here presented.
Iragbiji, the hometown of Governor of Osun State Gboyega Oyetola, is thrown into mourning on July 27 last year when Saheed Olabomi was shot dead at Okeoniti area of Osogbo, the state capital. The incident resulted into riots as youths blocked major roads in Oshogbo, protesting against the killing. The family has since insisted on getting justice for the deceased. The traditional ruler of the town, Aragbiji of Iragbiji land, Oba Abdurrashid Olabomi, wondered why the policeman that killed Olabomi is not prosecuted. The monarch called on President Muhammadu Buhari to compel the Inspector General of Police to arrest and prosecute the policeman.
We want to call on the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, to kindly intervene in an attempt to very clear case of murder, all because the perpetrator is a police personnel. 2, we want government to direct, and the authorities concerned, to direct that the AIG Zone 11, Osun State, the police commissioner, Commander Mopo 39, to release the 4 indicted police officers to Osun State High Court for their arraignment, which is coming up on 25th of April 2022. We also call on the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Osman Alkali Baba, to direct the AIG Zone 11 and his other co-travelers to revisit the matter and allow justice to take its full course on the culprits. 4, we solicit the support of all media, civil society organizations, the political class, and all Nigerians, so that the blood of Saheed Olabomi, who sadly left his aged parents, wife and children, due to the untimely death, so that the blood will not be in vain. We call on Nigerians to save us from the pains of losing our son and not finding justice.
The police public relations officer, Osun State Police Command Yemisi Okbalola, said the policeman that killed Olabomi has been arrested, detained and dismissed by the Commissioner of Police over the matter, but he appealed at the higher level against his dismissal.
It is not true that we just sweep that incident under carpet. It's not true at all. The orderly room process went well. Immediately it happened, the CP organized for the room trial for the officer, and those ones that are found not culpable were released. They are given punishment that is commensurate with what they did, and the one that shot was dismissed by the CP, and when he was dismissed, he went to the higher authority to appeal. He went there and he appealed. It is the result of that appeal that we are still waiting for now.
You're watching Trust TV News Update. Coming up after the break, knitting clothes for decades. This and more after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Trust TV News Update. Now look at our top stories. Kidnappers on Wednesday killed a popular cattle merchant, Gidado Hassan, and abducted his wife and 2 of his sons in Jalingo, Taraba State. And APC in Anambra has picked 180 delegates from the 21 local government areas of the state to represent the state at the party's national convention scheduled for Saturday, March 26th in Abuja. Now moving on to other news. With no fatality or infection recorded on Wednesday, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control has reported a backlog of 54 COVID-19 infections in 4 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. NCDC, in its update released on Thursday morning, noted that the latest is cumulative data for March 22nd and 23rd, 2022. The newly confirmed cases have increased the country's infection toll to 255,244, while the death toll remains at 3,142. With no backlog of discharges reported, NCDC noted that a total of 249,486 people have been discharged nationwide, while data on its website shows that over 2,000 people are still down with the virus. Knitting of clothes and decorative materials has been a source of livelihood for many families in northern Nigeria for a very long time. However, some knitters say the business is not buoyant anymore. A 50-year-old retired nurse in Gombe, Christina Dadan, has been knitting for more than 3 decades. She told Trust TV that the business is threatened by hot weather conditions in the north. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
Knitting is not just a business to this quinquagenarian, but a lifetime hobby she grew with since she was a child.
This knitting work, I started it from childhood. My mother used to knit some caps, so I started emulating her by using some broomsticks to knit some things like that. And when I became used to it, I can knit something reasonable. So I started knitting from primary school as I craft. In those days, we used to have a subject called craft, handwork. So my handwork was always the knitting work. And my teachers used to patronize it right from primary school. And when I finished the primary school, I still continue to build on it. Anywhere I see any wool work, I will ask and I will develop myself on it. And I started to knit some sweaters with knitting pins like this. There is hand knitting like this one. And even some books that have knitting work, this woolcraft of people doing home economics. Even though I didn't offer it as a course in school, home economics, but anywhere I see any handwork of wool, I will follow it and learn something in it. And I develop myself in it. I knit very well. And in fact, it helped me a lot.
Mrs. Christina's career in nursing did not stop her from the knitting job, which won her trophies in life.
I achieved a lot. I achieved a lot because with the knitting work, even though I'm a civil servant, my salary, I keep it aside. I eat what I use with my hands. This is what I feed on. And in fact, I have many assets based on my salary because I don't collect loan, I don't do anything. I eat what I use with my hand, and my salary I keep it for projects, and it has helped me a lot. In fact, I won an award during the time of Good Luck. There's something they do as called You Win. I use this as a business in You Win, and I won it. This knitting work, I use it. That is what I entered in as a business, and I got a lot.
How do you feel when you won that award?
I was so happy. People were saying, no, use your profession. Maybe you can build a nursing home because I'm a nurse as a professional. Maybe you can build a hospital or something. I said, no, there are many people doing that, but this knitting work, people don't like it much. They look at it as a small thing, but it is not so small as they think.
However, the retired nurse is worried that the business is not lucrative now as it used to be.
Business is not thriving as it used to be. Before, people are patronizing it. We knit their sweaters for children, for all these uniform professionals. They will request us to knit. But now, people are not patronizing it much. And the wool is so costly now. If you ask somebody, if he says knit a sweater for me and you tell him the price, he will say, it's too expensive, I better go for Okrika.
Christina now operates a shop where she sells soft drinks and showcases some of her products to put food on the table. The 50-year-old woman has a message to young Nigerians.
My advice to young people is they should not sit idle. They should find something, no matter how small it is. If they can start on something, in fact, if they grow in it, they will like that thing, and it will even earn them a living. They cannot just sit and say because they are going to school, after school they will get a big job. But let them just do these small things.
Economic experts believe that government does not have the capacity to employ all graduates from Nigerian universities. However, small businesses can help youth to be self-reliant. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
Federal Capital Territory Administration is bent on restoring safety, development and reduction of traffic in the capital city. To this end, the FCTA has carried out demolition exercises in areas riddled with illegal structures and shanties. Areas cleared so far include Airport Road, Utako Village, Gwarimpa and Durumi. Chamun Dabeng has more on the story.
I am currently standing in what used to be a popular mechanic village, but the area has been cleared out as the Federal Capital Territory Administration continues its quest to restore orderliness and safety in the state capital. The FCTA is moving with bulldozers, knocking down illegal structures. Officials seem to have no plans of sparing any structure that threatens the plans for the FCT. A town planner, Lekadi Feboke, speaks on the ongoing operations by the FCTA.
Two key words you used in your question. Number one, you talked about illegal. So this means that from the very first time of people inhabiting these areas, they knew it was illegal. And when it is illegal, it means there's a law binding it, covering those areas. And it means at any point in time, the government can decide to effect the law against any form of illegality. Again, there's also a threat of criminals hiding in these areas. They are shanties, slums, right? Whereas they provide affordable housing locations for certain classes of people. It is not enough to say you have them and put the entire area at risk. So someone goes and robs. Look at all the areas you've called. You've called Utako, you've called, we've talked about Durumi, we've talked about Gwarimpa. These are very, very, very developed areas. Not everywhere in the world do you have your developed center, and right next to it you have a shanty. It isn't, in planning, it's not good to the eyes.
FCTA's plans to revoke land titles for over 400 uncompleted buildings and about 600 undeveloped plots of land is generating storm. If the FCTA carries out its plans, what could be its implications for the real estate sector? Will it affect the cost of housing? A developer, Ebuka Adichie, speaks.
Well, when I read that on the news, I was quite amused because for two reasons. First reason is, now is such a hard time. I don't know if you've seen the cost of building materials lately. It's a hard time for property developers to jump in, especially if that's not your business, right? Maybe you're building your own home. It's a hard time for you to do that because of the inflation in the country. And so that has to kind of be tempered and seen within the light of the economic realities that we have in Nigeria. But on the flip side, I also think it portends a good omen for real estate facilitators, real estate developers. Why? Because it would force land speculators that just basically hold on these properties and hold on to it and add no value whatsoever. So that has encouraged a lot of developers to build illegally. Some people are building on water lines and all of that. So yes, while it's painful to absorb, especially if you're what we call a ghetto landlord and you have these chances in these areas that don't have any development control approvals. Or sometimes they do, in some cases they actually do, and yet it goes on. It's sad. There should be a way to absorb that cost, especially because of the economic hardship in the land. So if you're going to demolish somebody's shop or his house, what means are you thinking of relocating them? And it's a good opportunity, especially if you're going to develop Phase 4 Abuja, places that are currently seen as hinterlands. Give them alternatives to move there and actually have title documents where they can go and start over again.
As the FCT continues on their quest to clean up the capital city, residents may witness more demolitions in the upcoming weeks. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And now for a look at the economy, where capital importation into Nigeria fell in 2021 to $6.7 billion, representing a year-on-year decline of 31% from $9.68 billion in 2022. The National Bureau of Statistics stated this on Wednesday in its capital importation report for the fourth quarter of 2021. The report shows that the three components of capital importation recorded a decline in 2021, while portfolio investment suffered the largest decline of 34%, falling to $3.39 billion in 2021 from $5.14 billion in 2020. Foreign direct investment followed with a 31% decline to $699 million in 2021 from $1.02 billion in 2020. However, the NBC report shows an upward trend in capital importation in the fourth quarter of 2021, with capital importation rising by 26.35% quarter-on-quarter to $2.187 billion in the fourth quarter of 2021 from $1.73 billion in the third quarter of 2021. Now for a look at the international scene, where NATO leaders have agreed to bolster defenses along the alliance's eastern flank at an emergency summit in Brussels. The head of the alliance also warned Russia against using nuclear weapons after its 24th February invasion of Ukraine. Speaking at a news conference, head of the NATO summit in Brussels, Chief Jens Stoltenberg, says he expects leaders will agree to strengthen NATO's posture in all domains, with major increases in the eastern part of the alliance, on land, in the air, and at sea. The United Nations says more than 1,000 civilians have been killed in Ukraine and that more than half of the country's 7.5 million children have been displaced. The United States says it will welcome up to 100,000 Ukrainian refugees fleeing Russia's offensive. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky is calling on Ukraine's Western allies to provide Kyiv with tanks, planes, and weapons. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. Don't forget you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for joining us.